Hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück zu einer weiteren Folge Witch on the Holy Night. In der letzten Folge hat Aoko ein wenig was über ihre Familie erzählt, beziehungsweise ihre Verbindung zu ihrer älteren Schwester. Und aktuell ist Sojo dabei, den Garten aufzuräumen, und Aoko und Alice beobachten ihn dabei. Sie sind offenbar sehr fasziniert. It was safe to assume Aoko had come to the sunroom to escape her cold room. Between barking orders from a window and cleaning in the cold, it was clear who had the harder job.
しずきくん、何か言ってこなかった？言ってたけど、よく聞こえなかったわ。
Schön. In other words, his complaints fell on deaf ears. Der Blick von Alice ist so geil. With nothing else to discuss, the two resumed their reading. The ever so tense silence was broken by Sojo entering the house after finishing his cleaning. He stared at the two of them displeased.
あったかそうだね、青崎。
外よりは幾分ね。廊下の気温は外とあまり変わらないけど、それでどうして庭の掃除なんて始めたのよ、宗十郎。
So the subtle jibe had failed to find its target. Der Blick von Alice, wie geil. He had no chance of winning and so hung his shoulders in defeat.
今日は本当に寒い。明日あたり雪でも降ってくるだろうから、外の掃除は早くに済ませたかったのに、焼却炉は予定外だったぞ。
He sounded resentful, but his problem was not with the additional work. If anything, he was glad to do it. What he did not care for was how nobody had even bothered to lend a hand.
いいじゃない。焼却炉はみんな使うんだから。じゃ、その首相な心がけついでに2階の廊下に掃除機かけといてね。それと裏庭のブナの添え木、壊れかけてたでしょ。工具箱はあんたの部屋に置きっぱなしだから、それを使うこと。で、全部終わったら私の部屋に来てくれる？いらないものまとめておくから焼却炉で焼いておいて。
Hence why she made him clean the incinerator. Cool, but clever.
それで青崎、君は何をするんだ？
そうね、やることもないし、ギターにでも触ってようかしら。
Aoko thought hard about how to spend the afternoon, yet the thought of cleaning did not cross her mind as hard as had always been the case. No, it was not out of spite that she did not think to help clean. It was because the word cleaning was not in her vocabulary. Sojo knew exactly why the mansion was in the state it was in. Still, that did not change the fact that the corridor upstairs was very long, and Aoko was not lying about how cold it was inside. Inside was not much different than outside.
そうか。あくまで掃除をする気はないんだな、青崎。まあ、掃除はしたいからするけど、こう、なんだろう。一緒に住んでる人間をそこまでこき使って、両親は痛まないか？それとも、割と気づいてはいたけど、両親そのものがないのか？
As usual, he might have gone too far. His remarks had hit too close to home. Aoko closed the magazine and turned to face him. Infuriated, she glared her sharp blue eyes piercing into him. Sojo knew he had not said anything unjust, but he always backed down first.
宗十郎、何度も言うようだけど。
はい。
He replied automatically, straightening his back in response to Ako's cold, calm tone.
勘違いはしないで。私たちはあんたを同居させてあげてるんじゃない。これ以上ないって譲歩の末、仕方なく飼ってあげてるだけなんだからね。
Ako did not mince the words. Sojo nodded in defeat.
そうか。飼ってもらってるのか。
そう。番犬にもならないだろうけど。
Ako responded, already tired of the conversation. While Sojo had little room to counter, he still...
しかし一方、番犬は間違っても自分の食い縁を入れたり、天津さえ家賃を払ったりしないのも事実であった。
なんか言った？
いや、負け犬の遠吠えを少しばかり。
He raised his hand dismissively, knowing he could not win. To Ako's ears, his attempt at self-deprecation sounded face-to-face.
宗十郎、あんた、本当に分かってる？
そうだな。 君たちがどうあっても掃除をする気がないぐらいは。
Aku grinned at her pet's obedience. As long as he knew his place, that was all that mattered to her. She seemed to be extremely satisfied with her response.
余裕あるんだ、しずきくんってば。
A playful smile darkened as did Sojiro's expression.
青崎、なんだか息ができないんだけど。
このまま放っておくと、そんなことも言ってられなくなるんだけど、試してみる？
He shook his head, his expression growing more and more grim.
懸命ね。私も窒息したいなんて見たくないもの。
The grunting sound subsided. Cedric gingerly touched his throat. The cellar that had suddenly tightened around his neck returned to its normal size.
気管が塞がれた時の苦しさを知らないんだろう、青崎は。本当に抵抗できなくなるんだぞ、あれは。
だからそのための首輪だって言ったでしょ。今まで実践したことなかったし、あんたは相変わらず危機感ないし、ここらで一度しつけておいたの。それより掃除、急がないと日が暮れるんじゃないの？は
あ、結局今日はこうなる星の運びだったんだ。
So as he left the sunroom, his shoulders slumped and his tail between his legs. Aku watched him leave before turning to her magazine as if nothing had happened. Alice paid no attention, none of that had anything to do with her. With Sergio gone, the room once again fell silent, and as the clock ticked and on, Alice suddenly stopped flipping through her textbook.
どうして彼を酷使するの？
She asked as though talking to herself. Aku replied without so much as looking up.
別に。最後には記憶を消させてもらうんだから、楽しかったら困るじゃない。
Obscure as ever, but sincere in her own way.
そう。言われてみればそうだったわね。
Alice could not believe she had forgotten about the situation. Silently she looked up from her book and gazed outside once again. The courtyard through the window reminded her of where she lived a decade ago. Nothing could compare to the beauty of those gardens. But if that was the case, why did the scenery make her feel nostalgic? All Sergio had done was take care of the garden with the goodness of his own heart. If only half a day, he had achieved so much. It was Christmas Eve and snow had started to fall. Das heißt, wir nähern uns wahrscheinlich langsam den Höhepunkt, weil nicht umsonst heißt das Ding Witch on the Holy Night. Its timing was too good, as though it had waited for that day specifically. The cold, bustling main street seemed bright and vibrant under the layer of frosty white. Reindeer statues illuminated the surroundings. Children danced merrily to jingle bells. People walked along the brick road, smiling broadly. These festivities, however, had not reached the mansion on the hill. Silence enveloped the isolated building. The shadow of the snow-covered woodland grew longer, darkening in the darkness. People returned to the warmth of their homes, knowing a bitter night lay ahead. Something had been amiss in the mansion all day. Perhaps it wasn't the calm before the storm. 2 days had passed since Toko Arzaki had revealed herself. Aoko and Alice spent more and more time locked in their rooms. Mealtimes had grown noticeably quieter. With their roles decided, they were too busy with their own jobs to worry about each other. On this day, the two had been relaxing in the drawing room since morning. The mood was calm. Well, most at least. Sojo was fretting that tonight would be the same.
雪が明日ならよかったのに。
He aimed his words towards the girls on the sofa, despite knowing they would be ignored. Whether the snow fell today, tomorrow, or not at all did not affect them. The snow just meant a white Christmas. Aoko remained silent. She wasn't ignoring him per se, she just had other things on her mind. Sojo knew this, but still cast a lonely glance around the sunroom. The courtyard he had cleaned only a few days ago was hidden by a layer of white. The falling snow would stop every so often, but then resume again as if teasing Sojo. By the next morning, the courtyard would be a winter wonderland. Aqua and Alice sipped tea in an effort to fight the cold. In fact, that was all they were doing.
そういえば、瞳子さんの髪の色は青崎より濃かったね。あんな綺麗な赤毛は初めて見た。短くしてるのはもったいなかったな。
So she remembered on not expecting a response. However,
短かったって姉貴の髪が？
August's expression went from nonchalant to its usual sharpness.
それどういうこと？短くしてるって髪の毛のことよね。
ああ、アリスより短かったけど、それがどうしたんだ？
別に、あの人前は私より長かったってだけ。そう、あの髪を切ったのね。
August spoke in a grave tone, showing slight interest. Alice turned to Sojo.
普通じゃないな。髪を切ったぐらいでどうしたんだ一体。瞳子さんの髪が短いと青崎が困るのか？
まあその通りだけど。いいわ、どうせ夜まで暇だし説明ぐらいはしてあげる。あんたがそんなこと言わなければ未知数のまま瞳子と戦う羽目になっただろうし。
Aku knowingly glanced at Alice, her expression suggesting she was treating her. She was also likely seeking approval. Alice remained stoic as ever, her expression showing neither approval nor disapproval.
簡単に言うと、魔術師にとっては髪の毛も武器ってことよ。昔から人間の髪や目は魔術の材料になりやすいの。瞳の色は多いほどいいし、髪も長いほど質がいい。
Okay.
髪の毛は自身と同一視しやすいし、長い年月をかけて育てられる原始的で強力な原料と思ってくれていいわ。私が髪を伸ばしてるのはまあそういうこと。手入れが大変なんだけど、そこは女だから半分趣味みたいなもんよね。
So she glanced furtively at Alice, wondering if the same held true for her. Maybe Alice had cut it because it was a hassle to maintain. It sounded stupid, but then again it was Alice, so she nodded to himself.
じゃあ青崎としてはいいことじゃないか。瞳子さんの髪短いんだから。
それがここに来る前に使い切ったものならいいんだけど、伸ばした髪にはいろいろと使い道があるのよ。私は瞬間的な術の強化にしか使えないけど、姉貴だったら高級的な術の補佐に使うはず。年月と想念を蓄えた髪は魔術師の分身とも言える。そういったものをね、死んじゃった犬だの猫だのを反言させるときに与えると、術者に服従する使い魔が出来上がるの。生前魔力のなかった使い魔。例えば猫とか犬ね。これらは術者の髪を取り込んで独自の魔術回路を得る。申請することで全く違う生き物、猫の魔術師になるってこと。例えば人語を介したり人間に化けてみたりって、行動原理も変わってしまって、大抵は術者に似通った性格になるわ。そうよね、アリス。
Her last words came with a mocking smile. Alice silently ignored it.
じゃあ瞳子さんにはアリスのみたいな使い魔がいると？
そう見るのが妥当でしょうね。姉貴は20年以上伸ばし続けた髪と引き換えに強力な使い魔を用意したってことよ。
The fight at the amusement park. Just the thought of Alice Crunch releasing flat snark sent a shiver down Sojo's spine. The oil of the moon had been a unique familiar, out of this world.
ほら、そこ心配しない。三崎町をぶっ壊す規模の使い魔なんてありっこないから。確かに長く歴史のある紙を使用するほど強力な使い魔が出来上がる。けど紙を使った魔術師はそれまで溜め込んできた山中のうちの一つを初めからやり直さないといけない。切った紙はまた伸ばさないといけないでしょ。使い魔を作るのは簡単だけど、そう多く従えないのはそういうことなの。
As Arko spoke, her mood visibly improved, as though she had made a breakthrough.
犬とか猫。
Tilting his head to the side, he could not imagine a world where dogs and cats were so powerful.
変ね。瞳子さんは人魚師よ。スカイマを作って自分のレベルを下げるのはどうなのかしら。協力者がいないだけでしょ。青崎のお家騒動に人の手を借りたくないから自分だけで全部やるつもりなのよ。あ、もしかして遊園地の人形って姉貴の紙で作られたんじゃないだろうな。確かに話に聞いた限りだと特注品ね。呪いによる永久期間、両手のギミック、フィンの一撃、執念深さ。瞳子さんでもゼロから作るのは難しいでしょうけど。けど何よアリス、あの人は人形に自己を投影するような人じゃないわ。完璧な偽物なら許すけど、偽物に過ぎない偽物は容赦なく壊してきた。青子から見てその特注人形は瞳子さんと同じ力量を持っていた。まさか遠く及ばないわよ、あんなの。なら瞳子さんの髪とあの人形は別件よ。あの人が自分の魔力を分け与えたほどの使い魔があと1体はいると見るべきね。専門家としての意見、つまりその使い魔は姉貴より強い。そうでないと意味がないわ。人手が足りないというのもあるでしょうけど。だって私たちは2人、彼女は1人だもの。同時制圧も想定済みってわけ。なるほどね。その場合どっちが強い方を引き当てても恨みっこなしよ、あり。ま、こと使いまであんたが遅れを取るとは思えないけど。
Alice had never been defeated by a familiar. She sighed at Orko's overconfidence.
青子、たとえ20年間の蓄えを付与したとしてもその器が小動物では限度があるわ。あの瞳子さんが切り札になる使い魔を用意したのなら、それは。よしてよ。いくらなんでも姉貴はそこまで悪趣味じゃないわ。
Orko and Alice stared at each other. The conversation had returned to the drawing room, but the subject matter was not for the faint of heart.
そうね。けれど人間を追い詰めるのに最も効果的な相手はやっぱり人間なのよ。瞳子さんが死者を亡者にしていなくてもそれと同格の相手がいるぐらいは覚悟しておいて。はいはい、分かったわよ。確かに天才ってやつは空気読めないから、どんな生き物の死体を用意してきても驚かないわ。
Orko nodded reluctantly at Alice's directness. Needless to say, Sochi was completely lost.
その、よくわからないけど、なんで青崎たちは死んでるってことに固執するんだ？
それは使い魔じゃなくて協力者でしょ。使い魔は基本術者なくしては生きられないものにしないと。それでいて優れた意志を持ち、術者の資格や盲点を補える知性もある。それが一流の使い魔の条件よ。正直な話、それだけ都合のいいやつは死から作り直すしかないってわけ。
Completely obedient and capable of compensating for the mage's weaknesses, showed the fates that the familiar was a little different than himself.
さて、姉貴は昔からルーン使いだったから戦術は予測できる。問題の切り札もどうやら使い魔らしい。自動人形もさすがにこの前で使い切っただろうし。
Orko spoke directly to Alice, looking for confirmation. Alice nodded in agreement.
じゃあ予定通り今日で終わりにしよう。この1ヶ月好き放題やられた借りギッタンギッタンにしてあのバカ姉貴に返してやる。
Orko clenched teeth and balled her fists. It all seemed like nothing more than sibling rivalry. In fact, that's probably all it was. Looking at Orko, Sochi let out a sigh of relief. With what happened with Toko, and how they reacted to her visit, the atmosphere had been definitely tense. For now, though, Orko seemed much calmer. He took comfort in the thought that perhaps the sister would just bury the hatchet. Even if Aoko and Toko were not sisters, he would not want to see what would happen if they fought. The hands of the clock turned gently, approaching Judgment Night. A merciless silence would soon come to mock Sojiro's complacency. As night appeared, two things vanished. The first was the whimsical snowfall. The second was the lights of the mansion on top of the hill. Aoko and Alice were nowhere to be seen inside. Only Sojiro remained. It was the night of Christmas Eve. Though Aoko and Alice had yet to find Toko, they knew everything would be concluded over the course of this day and the next. Christmas comes but once a year. It was a singular time for endings and new beginnings. In Japan, the modern holiday dated back only about 100 years, and celebrated Christ's birth only in name, with all its latter-day trappings. It was neither pure homage nor corruption of the festival that inspired it. Regardless, there was a significant increase in the land's mana during festivals. Such charged distortions were a boon to a mage's craft, be it creative or destructive. Toko Aozaki sought to destroy the local seagulls, which gathered and properly cycled the magical energy of the land and its people. Sojiro was able to gather that much from Aoko and Alice's conversation. Toko had already claimed 3 seagulls. Only 2 remained. Any further loss would signal Aoko's and Alice's defeat. In order to protect the remaining ones, they had to split up. Aoko lacked power, so she would need to borrow a ply from Alice and head to the Tokawa Seagull, which boasted the greatest local energy supply. Alice would go fully equipped to the Seagull in Yashirogi. Free from the constraints of civilized society, magecraft is most powerful at midnight. The young witch and the apprentice mage wished each other luck before leaving the mansion. It was almost 10 at night. After the girls set out, the first 2 hours passed quickly. When Aoko was ready to head off, Sojiro walked with her to the foyer. Neither had spoken a word to each other. She had departed without showing any sign of fear. It was difficult to tell whether she did not want to get him involved or whether she did not see him a worthy ally in combat. The thought stuck with him. He let out a long sigh. Not out of dejection or frustration. It was a mechanical, emotionless breath. He sat on the near-frozen floor, staring vacantly up at the skylight. Moonlight peeked through the clouds. He imagined the moonlight bouncing off to the town's powdery blanket and illuminating the night, but he would not find himself downtown. Watching from the sidelines was his rule to begin with. His roommates and he lived worlds apart. He could not keep up with them, and if he did not show the same kind of will, he would remain on the sidelines. However,
そうか。この手が必要な時はもうないのか。
Sojiro looked up at the moon. Somewhere deep inside he felt a trickle of sadness. Veiled and white and cloaked in darkness, the park seemed like a forgotten memory. Not a soul was inside. The night felt far more enigmatic than usual, yet the air was clean enough to drink. Though only a sliver of moonlight peered through the clouds, it lit up the entire world. In those moments a young girl's footsteps echoed, trampling the still white silence under a midnight sun. The pale moon illuminated the inky blue sky. Only a few streetlights and an encourager's phone booth betrayed signs of civilization. A girl appeared dressed in black. Against the story landscape, the figure of Alice Cronje was unmistakable. Pure black, deeper than even the night, where her overcoat, gloves, and had even her hair and eyes. Nothing stirred for a time. Not Alice, nor the white scenery. The world was a still painting of a snowfield. Only time moved gradually, darkening the lights in the park, and eventually the nearby homes as well. Yashirogi was a more modern and developed town than Misaki. Though the park was located in the center of town, it had become a blind spot. It had been overlooked by developers and carried no commercial value. A few houses encircled the park. The streetlights turned off at midnight. It was a white night. People, even machines, were fast asleep.
私が先なのね。
Alice whispered, watching the streetlights slowly fade. She thought she heard a dog howling in the distance. Perhaps it was howling at the moon. The howl reached deeper into the night than expected. A wolf, maybe. The phone rang. It was perhaps the first time it had hung since Soju moved into the mansion. Hesitantly he picked up the receiver and brought it to his ear. He heard nothing. He felt he had to say something but could not think what. Maybe something like "Hello, Koronji residence," or maybe "You have reached the Aozaki residence." While he was deep in thought, a voice as light as air came through the receiver. Soju could barely hear the voice, but it was definitely Alice's.
そうだけど、アリス?
No response. The silence was as profound as the night. But for the sound of static from the receiver, after a long pause, Alice finally spoke.
いや、まだ帰ってないけど。
With a click, the call ended. Soju wondered if she had something to say, but could not respond in time. Ich würde sagen, an dem Punkt beende ich jetzt hier diese Folge. Okay. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao.